Welcome to the MMHP and the 989. Podcasting from the Michigan Rock Legends Hall of Fame in downtown Bay City. Channeling all styles and eras of Michigan music history. From the city by the bay. And now, Dr. J, Sir Fred, Mr. Mike, and your host, Scott Baker.
So here we are at the Rock and Roll Legends Hall of Fame here in Bay City, Michigan. Back for a new year of podcasts here in 2024. This is the first one of the year. We want to welcome back Dr. J. How you been, Doctor? It's been a long time since we get to talk to you.
Yeah, real good. Had a very nice holiday in New Jersey. Got to see a couple good concerts. Bob Dylan, Lucinda Williams. Pretty good combo right there. And we found out that it's really easy going to concerts there. I like smaller venues, so in New York City I look for shows at the Beacon Theater, and there's a Count Basie Theater in Red Hook, the opposite direction, and in both cases we can get on a train, 40 minutes, easy walk to the venue from the train station, take the train back.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a lot better than, right now.
We were looking at Little Caesars Arena and
yeah,
huge events
and for me, it's getting difficult driving at night. And those drive, in the wintertime, the drive there you're going to be in the dark, and the drive back in the dark. I don't relish that at all. I'm thinking that most of my concert going is going to be on the East Coast from now on.
A little bit cool too, because a lot of legendary venues over there.
Oh yeah,
those
definitely.
Little theaters and stuff. I love it. How you doing, Mr. Mike over there?
Doing good.
Mike's been keeping us alive on the scene, doing videotaping by the week. I know he's hiding away today with some new videotaping.
Mike, you must go to a gig every day
Yeah.
of your life.
I tried.
Or a restaurant. We haven't figured out which is more popular.
Yeah.
A restaurant with a gig.
Try to, yeah, like Blue Llama, right?
Yeah.
Mike's been on the road, and Sir Fred, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing good.
Oh man, Sir Fred, Mike, and I got to take off on a little Motown. We didn't go to Motown Museum, but we got to go to Detroit last month and do a little sightseeing, and stopped at a few cool places, which we're going to post some pictures of. But today's special event, podcast, it came out of a whim. I did not know of Mad Dog. Mad Dog is a band of the late 70s out of the Bay County area, Saginaw area, and little did I know Bob Charlebois was in it, and I've known Bob for a long time, on and off as a writer, and as seeing him at gigs throughout the years, or running into him at gigs of my own. But we got a message from Outrageous Cherry Matthew Smith in Detroit saying, Scott, you got any info on Mad Dog? They're like the hottest thing on the psych scene down here in Detroit, album collecting. And I says, I don't even know who you're talking about. And I threw that to my group here on the podcast.
Young guy.
And Gary goes, well, that's Bob and his brother.
Yes,
And I'm
and
like,
they're in the Michigan Rock and Roll Legends Hall of Fame.
There's so many cool bands.
So,
they're
come
even
on.
right in my backyard. I didn't even know it. So I got in touch with Bob, and he sent me up with a CD. And I think everybody here has the vinyl minus me. But we managed to get a reunion in the house tonight. Everybody's here. Thank you guys all for showing up.
This has
problem.
been a long time since the three of us sat in the same room.
That's-
together.
Really?
We're talking decades.
Yeah.
We got Bob Charlebois,
I haven't seen Don in decades.
Don Langenburg.
Langenburg.
I can't read this little writing here. Joe Charlebois. Thank you guys so much.
No problem.
The trio has, you guys sparked some interest. I mean, Matt Smith's no slouch down there. He writes for Alice Cooper. He's got Outrageous Cherry and Volbeat. He's on Ben Harper's label. He's one of the guys on the scene in Detroit. He does a lot of stuff with Don Was.
Okay.
We're actually been trying to
Don
get
Was.
him up here, and he's been in touch with me throughout the last 2 years. And then he threw that at me back in November, and I'm like, well, let's track this down. And I'm grateful you all are still local and here hanging out. So thanks for coming on the show.
Well, it's nice to get the call.
Problem.
Yeah, there we are.
So tell me, lead us into the Charlebois brothers. Let's start there. Whoever wants to take the hit, give us some history on how the music came. You guys still play together to this day around here?
Yeah, we do sporadically, off and on.
You know, when they're drummers, when they don't have a drummer, they call me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
And a
Joe?
singer, so
Joe's
I know all Bob's material, so it's easy to step right in there.
Oh, it is.
okay. Well,
Well, and you're all three of you are Bay City born, right?
That's a fact.
Right, I gotta say when things got started, it was really Joe. Joe was like just a kid out playing with some group called Love Incorporated, and they would. It was my first chance at being a recording engineer. I was 10 years old, and I had one of those little 5-inch reel-to-reels. Yeah. And they're playing at a little school gig.
It was Lynn's Day School in the back.
Lynn's Day School over on the west side.
Wow,
here.
there we are.
And what was it? I can't
We
tell
had
you.
Bob. We had they call them canteen dances. I think it was on a Wednesday night. And
Okay.
it was great because for a guy like me that hated school, this was so cool, And that's what we played that.
Yeah, so I think Joe still got the little reel-to-reel rounds
I have it.
somewhere.
Wow, there we go.
I was
Well,
trying to-
about what year was this? Love Incorporated. That kind of sounds like a '60s kind of band name.
I'm guessing it would be like 67.
Oh, the
68.
Summer of Love. Yes.
We covered some of this stuff before, but my cousin Mark Heinskill, I had been playing for about a year. I was in 8th grade, and these guys were like juniors in high school. And then I got the call,
Wow.
8th grade.
Yeah.
That's going back with some cool
There you go.
history
and
right
and
there.
we got to the coolest thing was for me is I got to play my graduating from 8th grade with this band, So it was
Yeah, and plus you got to hang out with the older guys.
yeah. Well,
Which,
that,
really,
Mark-
when you're
some of that.
Yeah.
Some of that was a pain in the ass because they're all telling me everything. It goes like this and this, and then so
Were you nervous?
Huh?
Were you nervous?
I don't remember being nervous, but I probably was.
Yeah, because it seemed to me like the younger musicians always, when they had the big guys around, take so much earfuls. It's like
The coolest thing is they let me drive their cars.
well, you had
I go out in
there
the
you go.
country and I learned to drive early.
Yeah, very
No,
good.
Where did you guys live at the time?
West side of Bay City.
West side of Bay City.
Yep.
Were
you- Banks there.
You were in the Banks area.
Yeah.
Okay.
On State Street, I still live there. I live in my childhood home.
Excellent.
So
it was like our mom bought us a guitar rig out of catalog and a set of drums, and we were and set us loose in the basement. And the guitar rig was I forget what kind of amp it was, but it was a Tisco guitar with a lot,
Tesco Del Rey.
yeah, with a lot of pickups and buttons and a whammy bar, and you could set the guitar on top of the amp and work that whammy bar, and it would sound just like a jet airplane coming in. The fact of the matter is, even now people still like that shit.
Well, they're collectibles.
It's yeah, but they like that sound. I
Yeah.
love
Oh,
that.
for sure.
I just, Bobby,
it's-
I just saw an article the other day. It was about talking about Ted Nugent, and one of the roadies said he would go on the stage and find out where he could get the best feedback for Ted.
Oh, makes sense.
see-
Them Birdlands were big hollow bodies, man.
He used the feedback,
Yeah.
a lot.
He was a hollow body fanatic. He brought him back around too. He was doing Paul Reed Smith for a while, but he's got him again. He's a feedback king from the Man Boy Duke stomps.
Yep.
Did you guys gig with
Can you
them?
imagine a roadie though? Go find the best spot on stage where I can get the best feedback.
So Joe in his senior year of high school, him and his buddies formed a blues band called Brutus, and it was really a good band. I think who was in there? Gail Cobb.
The only guy I can remember, I went to high school with these guys, and at the Love Incorporated lasted for about a year, and then I was off for like 3 years. I mean, I never stopped playing, but then I got a call from these guys. We were actually sitting in class, and they're like, "We need a drummer," and somebody pointed, "Joe's a drummer." Steve Hornack told me.
Hornack.
So Steve and I go way back, but so I got that band lasted probably about a year.
Wow, the horn. That's it. Was that his start?
No, Hornack wasn't in the
Oh,
band, but these guys had heard from Hornack that I was a drummer. You know, 'cause,
Was it Gail that played the harmonica and the bass?
he played bass and harmonica. He's a pretty good harmonica player
and
too.
the singer would go in there and he'd play the bass when Gail was
I'm
playing the
trying to
harp.
think of his
and he had
name.
this really cool 3-note thing, like a little boogie line that he'd do. It worked. It was a great band.
Now I don't know if this is true or not. I just remembered his name is Spiridigliosi.
Oh, there you go.
And somebody told me he's a brain surgeon now. I don't know if that's
Well, they
true,
got
but
started with music.
Michael
music's more
T.
powerful.
told me that.
Yeah.
He said, "I go really. I guess their moms were friends or something like that." But
So, you know who else was in that group? Was Mike.
Mike,
The guitar player.
there was a guy that was in and out. It's coming back to me a little bit.
Mike McKellop.
Oh yeah, he was in there.
Mike
for a minute.
McKellop, yeah,
I forgot
and
about Mike.
He came into that group with a custom amp with all the bells and whistles and this 72 Fender Telecaster, blonde Telecaster. And man, oh man, the band was going. He walked into the room, and it was summertime blues, and it really worked good. And
The song that blew me away that he could do was Santana covered. It's a
Black Magic Woman.
yeah, and
He did the Fleetwood
Fluent.
Mac Peter Green cover. Yeah.
well, at that
Fluently.
time, I don't.
Well, actually, he
don't know
was
that
doing the
Santana
Santana
Version.
cover,
Yeah.
but we knew where the original came from.
You seen you were searching for it there. I'm like, Peter Green's like my hero. So it's
Yeah.
like, oh, that's
Peter
cool.
Green's one of my heroes too. I'm not a guitar player, but this guy
Beautiful.
he's great. We saw him live too, by the way. I think me and Don and Bobby saw the original Fleetwood Mac at East Town.
Oh, somebody
Detroit.
was. I know it was there. That's cool. I've heard about that gig, but I didn't
Let
know
me
he
tell
was
you
there.
the bill. The bill was headliner was Black Sabbath. The second was Fleetwood Mac, and a band called Sir Lord Baltimore.
Oh yeah, okay.
They were
Heard that name?
Hornack thought that was the thing. They kicked ass. That sounded like a bunch of noise to me.
The first band, I was not impressed.
That was them, yeah. But they're the sound check.
You know what's
band.
weird on the internet? People compare us, Mad Dog, to them, and I go,
To Sir Lord. To
yeah.
I remember
Thanks.
the Sir Lord
Thanks
Baltimore album.
They were so loud, and I'm a guy that's not shy about loud, but I mean they were just like, whoa, you know.
So anyways,
Anyway.
what I was getting to with the McKellop and that Telecaster, well, when McKellop had to go for his fully paid vacation to Southeast Asia,
Yeah, you got drafted.
Don bought the guitar for him, and I ended up with the guitar.
So Don enters the picture.
Don bought it. He was living at our mother's house with us at the time, and they just palmed it off as rent, for living there. So I ended up with a guitar. I still have it. It is awesome. It's an awesome guitar. I had it all
Telecaster,
refretted and furbished, and it's just like you pick it up. And I had the tech from Steppenwolf checking it out. He said, "Oh my God, this is old growth ash on this body."
Wow.
And it's
The guy that knows it so well is old growth ash.
Yeah, and
Wow.
and you pick it up and anybody plays it. Well, it just plays like butter, and it has perfect intonation and tunes up.
Bob, that's not the one you use for the slider, is it?
Well,
the
there was
other?
a
You had two
thing.
Telecasters.
There was a thing there where the I had two of them, and I just playing that slide on there all the time. It just toasted the frets out, so I changed necks out with the best body, and so
Well, if Joe Bonamassa is listening, like I hear he does to our podcast, don't get too many hopes up on buying this. I think Bob's gonna hoard this.
no,
telly.
it just is really nice. It's playable. It's
Those are the
my
collectible
my
ones, man.
guitar.
Joe
man.
Bonamassa's buying all the guitars.
He buys them all now.
Seems like it.
Yeah, he's collecting them. Yeah.
So, anyways, Joe's playing with this blues band. I did get to sing with him in a rehearsal, and what did I say? I sang that blues song, "Drinking Muddy Water Out of Hollow Bowls," and I was messing around playing the flute. But I was really a little kid at that time, So.
Is this Joe? What was your blues band?
It was his blues.
His blues,
band.
your
It's
blues
called
band.
Brutus. Yeah.
Oh, Brutus, that band. Okay.
And at that time, Don he was working for General Motors, and he had taken a 6-month sabbatical over to England.
Yeah, I'd like to ask Don about that. You went to England with Bob and Joe's sister Yvonne, right? Is that correct?
I don't know. I can't remember being there.
Hey, he lived. He was about maybe 10 years older than us. He lived in the '60s, and
That's right.
if you were there, you don't remember.
You don't remember
I
it.
can help
Exactly.
fill in
Okay.
if you'd like, but
Yeah.
But anyways,
Yeah, they
well,
went
he
to
come
England.
back from this 6-month trip, and he told me, he said, well, either I'm going to join a motorcycle gang or a band.
Yeah.
Let's start a band.
Okay.
So it was him and I. First of all, we weren't really good enough for him to play with us. We had to
According to
get
me.
good enough where he had
come
left.
on, guys, catch up.
He had to get good. We had to get good enough to play with him, and so I put my nose to the grindstone. That's what I do, and I picked up this song by Mata Hoople, and
That's the song.
I always called
remember
it
this. It's like
Thunderbuck Pam, but he said it was
Thunderbuck Ram. Yeah.
Well, it looked like a
Ram.
Pam to me.
Look at the printing.
Anyways, I figured it out, and that sold him. So then that's where we started playing.
You
together.
sold me because I could really see your potential and your talent because you nailed that, and I go, wow, that's
Well, no talent here, and just hard work.
no,
Work.
well.
So did you model yourself after any particular power trio? There were a few of them around. The Dick Rabbit. I think they played
got
around
arrested
town.
here, didn't they?
Well, they were part of the
Big
marijuana
bus,
bus.
yeah,
Yes. But they were part of
I don't.
Delta Promotions
I
and of course Grand Funk Railroad.
It was a good trip.
I don't know if we fashioned ourselves as anybody in particular. I don't remember that consciously, but surely we, for me, a lot of Cream. I listen. I got
Okay, yeah, another
Wheels of Fire for me.
the original power trio, I guess.
you know,
Well,
it's
or
like-
Hendrix,
Band of Gypsies.
I listen to Hendrix too. Never mind the guitar playing, the drummer. He was the hell's his name? Mitch Mitchell.
Mitch Mitchell.
Mitch Mitchell, right?
Yeah, the nice sound. You could hear him when he was playing. You knew who it was, but not in particular, Gary, that I can think of. But we were surely influenced by those.
So you guys then started rehearsing at the Charlebois family home?
In the
Yeah.
basement,
Yeah.
Joe had like a hippie dungeon set up down there with curtains and
My
a
dad saw it.
beer can wall. It was like a pyramid made of beer cans. And
My dad saw he said, this looked like an opium dungeon. I thought, well, you're not too far off.
yeah, so Don, right, his input right from the get-go, he had an idea of what this should be, and he right away from the beginning he said, man, let's write some songs like the cover bands. They're a dime a dozen, as he used to say guitar players were
A dime a dozen.
a dime a dozen,
That was
but
Don said.
but we so that's we just started writing. I started writing.
What year would have that been?
Songs. I think it all started gelling in '73. I think that's when
So
it started.
it was that becoming Mad Dog, or was that Mad Dog at the time?
It was. I think it was at that time.
Wow.
It was that.
50 years ago.
73
It was
51
that
years
wine. That wine that came in a rectangular bottle. It was
MD.
named after that, and it was actually
50-50.
You know what? We were working class people. It was a good value. You
Yeah.
could get. It had a lot of kick in it, and I actually still
A couple
have.
bucks, was it? Or I can't
I actually
remember.
still have
Mad Dog,
a bottle
yeah.
in my bar that's
Yeah.
never been touched.
Whoa, vintage.
Oh,
Just
well.
waiting for the right moment.
I
to
don't
open it. Yeah, Mad Dog 2020. That was
That was it.
yeah. There was a lot of those kind of cheap wines around that time. Boone's Farm was
Boone's
another
Farm.
big
Boone's
favorite.
Farm
Yes,
comes to mind.
Thunderbird.
Thunderbird.
Yes.
Ripple.
Okay, Ripple. Yeah. Oh, wow.
Wow.
Now we're talking.
Don had a big Chevy job he had. There was money.
Oh
He
yeah,
had-
General
he had-
Motors.
He had money, and when he got one of his big, as I recall, he got one of his big vacation checks, and we went over to Saginaw and bought some big gear. And I can remember you trying out your the bass amps, and he was trying, no, this don't do it, and he finally got, I want one that makes the bottom of my bell bottoms flutter. So
Beautiful.
he ended up with a twin folded 18-inch cabinet.
It was an acoustic.
Yeah.
350, I think, was the model.
Or
That
370.
sucker was about this high.
Oh yeah, we
had
went for
an
the
18-inch
big
speaker in
gear,
it.
you know.
Yeah.
The speaker, I think they call it a folded reflex, Bob, and the speaker is actually mounted to the back, and it hit the back of the cabinet. It had 2 ports.
Holy crap.
And this sucker you could hear the bass.
That's one thing about your recording is you guys got some bass on it too. There's no fooling, which is good.
I wish we had more, to pick it apart. But,
Well, Don, tell us a little bit of how you got your start, so we can get you into the mix here. When did you
How I
start
got
playing
started?
music? Yeah.
I can't remember what I did yesterday.
So you were playing on the scene before these guys, I assume, or playing at home?
In my basement, wasn't it?
I think so. That's
That
when
was
you,
Don's
I think
start.
that's when you started.
Don,
Yeah.
Okay.
Don was a late bloomer, and he picked up the bass guitar right about then.
You had a good job, and you were just picking up the bass at home, and you brought it right into this group then, huh?
Yeah. Well, the instruments, he had a friend that came back from Vietnam, and I can remember him sending some gear back, some speaker boxes back, full of these pre-rolled marijuana cigarettes. Where he smuggled them inside a speakers from Asia.
Back when you could do that kind of
and
thing.
they came here, but when he come back after seeing all the bullshit he saw in the war, he became a Jehovah's Witness, and very inexpensively he sold us Don's precision bass. I'm not sure what year it was, but that was his bass, and I ended up getting a beautiful Yamaha tenor saxophone, really cheap, $250, but that was the bass right there. And what did I don't know. It's all about the gear a lot.
Sure.
For me, we ended up with those big amps, and I think after things got going, you don't hear it on the album because it wasn't at that point, but I ended up getting the sound with a Sony reel-to-reel recorder. I had some way where I soldered up these cords where I'd loop it around and it would come back in, and it had this echo sound.
You were using the echo
sound,
yeah.
and then
it's like an echoplex.
Yeah.
But it was a real to real.
It was a three of us, and it had a way of getting these rhythms going. It's like before U2 was doing it. Really,
Mm-hmm.
We were just doing our thing.
I would bring up. What is his name? The Edge.
Yeah.
You were doing some of that shit before he was.
Yeah, right.
Well, that's
right.
one thing that Matthew Smith wanted to point out, that you guys had some of the best tones for a psychedelic album kind of 70s, that he was like wanting to know about this. So that was a question for you.
It was recorded loud. My guitar point. It wasn't a little bathroom amp. Nowadays they get a little bathroom amp, get the tone with it. It was recorded
We
loud.
recorded live too. There was very little overdubs, except for maybe the vocals. We would do it live and in one take. It had to be good. We didn't do any editing.
Where at? Did you record in your basement?
No, this was in
it was at Glen Arbor, right?
Glen Arbor Rolling.
Yeah, we're probably jumping ahead here a little bit because we want to get it where you guys really got your start,
right?
And the 617 warehouse.
Well, yeah,
that kind
there
of thing.
was
Want to get into that.
At this, there's the three of us at this point. In walks in our cousin Tim Rise, or he goes by Riss sometimes as Rise. He's our cousin, and he, there's a contact with him. We sort of grew up with him.
He's
Joe
like
and
a
I.
brother to us.
There was a point where in my grandma's basement, we used to set up like a stage with, we had sheets, and we took Joe was beating on a pot and pan, and
the bass drum was my grandma's canning pot. We put it up on a pedestal. We kicked the thing from basement.
Wow.
We were, pretty young at the time.
Wow.
But we played stage.
Yeah.
We had tennis rackets. We put cardboard on it and glued dials on there, like volume and tone controls. No kidding.
So
We
anyway,
played a lot of singles.
So
we
Tim,
had all
you know,
those great singles from the '60s. You know,
Tim ended up, he had a good job too. Money plays a factor, and he ended up renting us this warehouse over, not too far from here, over on
617.
Yeah, the over by that industrial park by the Independence
Right.
Bridge back in there.
Back in the day, it was
where
on-
the Last Chance.
Yeah,
was near where the Last Chance
exactly.
was.
The Last
right?
Chance was a good, like if we had a Friday night party and we run out of Strohs, we'd go over to the Last Chance and get another case and bring over there. And
It was a quick run over to get the Strohs.
Okay.
But that was actually Prairie Street back in the day, but now it's Marquette.
Right.
So, but same.
Yeah, it's very different now. It's hard to envision what it must have
It
been.
was a dirt
like,
road.
yeah.
It was very
terrible.
isolated, which was good because and
Then
you
the
know
cops
Tim says he
stopped
said
bothering us.
no,
'cause
he rented the place out for us, but he said, man, you guys got all this stuff in here. You guys have to stay here all the time in case somebody steals the stuff, which that worked out pretty good, because there we were there and we honed our craft and got ready to make this record, at that point.
That's
we were,
right. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's,
Was that so? That was you guys formed in '73. That would have been '74, '75.
yeah, kind of.
I'm with Don. I don't remember too much on the years.
Yeah.
Oh, it's okay.
But
I can help with the
but I
years.
did-
I have more brain cells left.
All right. So there was just you and Bob, or did Don live there too?
Don was
three of
right
us
with
there.
us.
We're there.
They asked me to play with them, and I after I heard him play this piece that we talked about previously, I go, okay, I'm in. Because this is what I wanted to do. I didn't know how I was going to get there, and this kind of just happenstance, Just they asked me, I said, oh, okay, here we go.
So that was, we're leading up to the record, and that was, we worked hard. It was, with the work ethic, working class people.
We tried to work 8 hours a day.
Yeah, every
We thought,
morning.
If we're going to be real about this, we're not just going to sit around, And we
We
worked
made-
on vocals for 4 hours a day,
Yeah, we made up these
as much as we could.
reel-to-reel tapes, minus the vocals, and him and I just, every morning hammered them vocals every morning, and
Well, you had that sibling harmony then, right?
oh
The
yeah,
brothers.
it's definitely there.
People
Yeah.
are
There's a lot of
jealous
people
that,
never even knew he was singing back there. They were just seeing, they're just looking at this
Yeah, I
long-haired, flamboyant guy out in front.
I made
and
you look good, Bob.
he did.
Yeah.
Made you sound good, I should say.
I've been digging into the CD a lot last month, and that every tune's got this. It's like a double thing on every track, like and you can hear it.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
like, there's two of you singing there.
Yeah, that was the album was. There's not a lot of overdubs on it. Really, the only overdubs I could think of was on that. Can You See? Because I always played a Rhodes at that time. At that time, they had a real nice. I don't know if it was a Steinway Grand with two of them fancy
And
Newman mics in the studio.
Shoot.
Oh,
And
we went for the
if
good
you can
gear.
hear it, as soon as I heard that recording, it was like, oh my gosh, this sounds like air conditioning, so it sounded cool. But we were, get going up to working up to recording the album. We worked hard in that warehouse. It was like 4 hours of singing and 4 hours of playing live, and then we'd smoke pot and play euchre
But
afterwards every day. Every day.
Did you test your songs out with audiences?
There.
I mean,
We
what were you
We
going
went
out?
out. We went out, and I'll help with the years a little bit. We went out in '73. I remember we played a Battle of Bands at the what do you call that there? Bay County Fair.
Oh, fairgrounds,
They
right?
had and we did not win. And we kind of
Well,
put our tail between our legs, and we went back and worked hard for a year. We came back, and that was one. This would be like '74, and we won that.
Did you guys play all original? Do you remember when then that Battle of the Bands, or did you do some covers?
I think we did all originals. That's who
For
we
a
were
while
at
there,
that point.
for a while there, we were adamant we're playing all originals. A little bit later on, reality kind of struck because a little bit later on we had Lone's sound system, pressing Lone, recording Lone, And
Well,
we got to get the.
You know what
money
you're
flowing
forgetting
in.
though. The important gig for me was the first gig was Don's brother got us a gig at a pool party somewhere here in Bay City, and here I am. I don't know. I must have been 16. And there's all these 27-year-old gals walking around in bikinis, and I was just hooked.
I'm in.
I was hooked. I was hooked right there. You know.
All the gigs are going to be like this, right?
Well,
They weren't, but it was encouraging. I think that would have been 73, Bob. That was our very first gig.
Somewhere in there before we hunkered down in the warehouse, I think we went and played every high school in town here, every frickin' one, and then afterwards we quit gigging for about a year, practicing up for this. So when we got to the studio, it was pretty much, the takes were easy enough to get done. Because it was expensive at then. It isn't like you got some little CD recorder. It was $100 an hour. You had to have your shit
thing
together.
was you would try to get your rehearsing done, not in it wasn't like the Rolling Stones. I will work this out in the studio. We couldn't afford that.
Was this a 2-inch tape you were going on?
Yeah, it was.
So that's another reason. That was always expensive.
That was
Big
16
recording
track
machines.
back
They looked
then.
like wash machines. Is what it was. And
You still have those reels?
yeah, I think
We do.
He's got them. I could remember at one
guard
point
them
we
like
kept
a
them
pit
in
bull.
a safety deposit box, and we went. We went with my father to pick them up one day, and he said, Jesus Christ, I thought you were going up and picking up porno films.
Yeah, they were in People's National Bank. We had to keep them safe in case of
Well,
fire.
we were serious about it.
We were damn serious.
Yeah.
If nothing else.
Don got us signed up with the Musicians Union. We ended up with what was it? Local 127 was it?
That
So
sounds
there's
right.
still a
now.
union around
American,
there. We were just talking about that.
American Federation of Musicians.
Wow.
Yeah, so we wanted to be legitimate musicians. This is what we were doing.
Yeah.
So did you guys get someone to book for you back then, or did you find your own gigs?
There was several of them. There was I think one I can recall from Lansing Siddharthas. They were called. They picked us up.
That's
a few.
right, Siddhartha.
Some barber. He had a barber shop over in Saginaw. Tyson and Tyson. Tyson, they got us some work. I think they got us to work in Saginaw, and then
They got us when we played with Bob Seger. They booked that. They booked us in there.
And then who else was there?
So Mad Dog did a show with Seger?
We did a couple.
Yeah.
Of them.
Two.
We're
74
it's kind of
and 75.
Okay.
It's kind of pitiful to define your life by opening up for an act a couple times, but it's still a big deal.
Well,
Well,
it
Bob
makes for a great
Seger, I mean,
story,
he's
yeah.
Was that at
Mr.
Hidden
Michigan
Hollow?
Rock and Roll.
It was.
Yeah,
Were
that's
you there?
I could have been, because that's the last time I saw Bob Seger.
Well, we opened for him there. I'll never forget it.
I can't
The floor
remember
on that
it,
place
but
was going
yeah,
like this.
yeah,
It was
yeah.
built over a stream, like a
Right,
creek or something.
Yeah.
It's something when rock and roll takes place in a venue like that.
That was the second time.
It actually starts
where was that at?
over in Saginaw.
Yeah.
Hidden Hollow.
Off,
It was a
yeah,
golf
is it off
course
46?
yeah,
It's
so
off
actually in
46, right?
Shields.
Yeah, right.
The room when it gets going, like it's really truly meant to get going. The room starts flexing.
That's
It's
not
not-
kid.
it's-
One
it's-
thing that
it-
struck me.
I
Wonder if they're gonna fall in the creek.
always thought it would have been the coolest, when we were playing with the Burdens over at the dock on the river here. If it just fell in the river, we got good press.
The press. Made it all live, lost all their gear, but man, what a show. It was bopping. Talking about flexing right into the water, like
Well, I
3rd
don't know,
Street Bridge.
have you guys ever felt that at a show? It is something, and
It's kind of scary. I can remember we did a gig with the Burdens. It was after they got ripped off. It was a benefit gig, so they could get some equipment back, and it was at that theater in Essexville. And I swear to God,
The Colonial Theater, the
Colonial
upstairs.
Theater, that's the
yeah,
thing.
upstairs.
Upstairs,
hall.
they had dinner people downstairs while this was going on. I don't know how that worked. I swear to
Yeah.
God, the floor was going like this. And I was actually sitting on a window because I thought that floor was going to go, I swear.
Oh, my
And
Lord.
It was, that was the hairiest one.
Finally, a Colonial gig story. I've been waiting for one of those to come through here.
Yeah. It was they rented the hall upstairs, and like I said, I would have liked to have been sitting down there because the floor was
Holy crap! Eating dinner, going
having our
"What?"
first dinner downstairs here. You know.
Yeah, I'm
the
sure
best,
the people
the
were
best rock and
complaining.
roll really is when it gets to a point of almost being dangerous,
Yeah.
and it just does that sometime, and you're there, and then,
Or that feeling, yes.
yeah, you're
sometimes.
you're alive, and hell, I can feel it right now.
Right.
You know?
Exactly.
So you guys gigged with Seger before this '77 album came out.
I think so. Yeah, I think that must have been.
The first time
75. It had been 75.
A key year for us was the following year. Like I said, after we went in, we got our tails between our legs, saying, we didn't do shit. We worked hard, and '74 was off the charts. I mean, we won the Battle of the Bands at the county fair. We opened for Seger. We were third on the bill. Second, Seger, MC5, Mad Dog. It was.
Wow.
And
Yeah,
a story in particular is, Seger's I went to see all the Detroit bands when I was a kid, and Seger was one of my big heroes. When the Rambling Gambling Man came out in the late '60s, that was the shit for me, But I'm sitting on my drum throne. Don's over there, Bob's over there. I look back just over this way. We used these big trucks to haul equipment. They were cheap. And I look back over there, and Seger's getting the shirt on, getting ready to go on a little later. And I'm like, holy shit, I'm opening for this guy. I used to watch him. And it was, that was a moment for me.
That's awesome.
Well, I just
That's
wanted to
beautiful.
bring up, I've got your biography here of Mad Dog that we have for all the inductees. And he was billed at Hidden Hollow as Bob Seger and the Silver Bullet Band.
So
Oh,
it's
really?
early
Yes.
Silver Bullet.
So
That
that
was
might
the
have been.
that was the beginning of the Silver Bullet
Right,
Band. It was
exactly.
good.
That was coming off
They're
those
just
two records
starting.
that he.
The solo Bob Seger
Yeah,
stuff
that
on
you can't
Canadian.
find.
In fact,
Yeah.
I think Alto Reed went by
Tom
Carmel.
Cartmel, I think it was, wasn't it?
Yeah, something like that. Then he got to use the name Alto Reed.
Right.
Yeah, well, that's pretty cool to open for Seger just at the cusp of
Yeah.
really hitting it big. I mean, he had it big there back with Rambling Gambling Man, but it didn't.
But there was a big lull.
Yeah, he didn't get
he got
the follow-up.
dumped off of Capitol.
Yeah, he didn't get the
and,
follow-up.
One time-
An MC5 at that point?
It was I couldn't tell you the players because I went to see the MC5, the original band.
At the end,
Many
you know,
times.
supposed to stop
This was
and complain.
the actual band
Crowd
broke up in
going, yeah,
'72, I think. So this was
Yeah.
something that
We
they've
do
thrown
another one, I
together.
remember seeing.
I can't tell you.
Go
The
down
only
the
person I know who was there was Wayne Crane.
Okay.
Because I remember Wayne. They were driving across the field, and the back door on their van was open.
Remember what
Wayne
was
had his
that was
guitar and he was
crazy.
laughing. He's kind of rolling around the back of the van.
Yeah.
So I know Wayne was there.
Cool.
So
I think Wayne was trying to make some money to probably feed his drug habit back in those days and using the MC5 as a.
yeah, he did
Yeah.
hard time too.
Yeah, he really did.
What were you saying, Don? I just heard you saying something.
Yeah, we were playing with Sigurd. Sigurd was a. And we were playing, the warm-up band, and we were playing, and we got at the end, crowds going, "Oh, do another one." And, hey, all right, we do another one. Do another one. Do another one. I see Sigurd Don going.
Get off stage.
Yeah, we
Get out,
were
man.
kind of ordered off stage.
Yeah, you don't
That
get to
was
do
it, like,
encores very often when you're the opening act.
Wow. That's pretty cool. What a
Yeah.
feeling, huh?
Yeah,
That was a good one.
I like
for
to
us,
think we
right?
lit a fire under his ass, but who knows?
Yeah.
I read a lot about that. When they were finally making it on their own, the bigger bands, they would be so upset by a hot opening act.
You get from what I saw. I don't remember this with us, but you get like 30 minutes. They would,
All right.
get shitty lighting,
Yeah.
shitty sound.
Yeah.
Sound.
A
Yeah.
lot of
they're
times you
really-
don't get a sound check even, right?
Well,
Right, the opener.
it's actually it shouldn't be that way. People should be helpful, but it is dog eat dog.
I recall.
That's what
I
I remember.
recall at right about that time. Don was dating this gal over in Saginaw. Beautiful blonde. Her name was
She
Dee.
was.
Her name was Dee, and she was. I think she was dealing some pot. I there was a connection there at the time with Saginaw, you know, and somehow, you know, she was working for somebody, some of the big uppity up dealers or whatever you call them, cartel people, and they got
Scary
the idea
people.
to put on a gig out at the Golden Globe Ballroom. And I can remember Don and I. We need an opening act to open up for us. Well, we went over to Bobby Balderano's house, and he's looking out the window when we pulled in the driveway, and I don't know. I think maybe he had a Tommy gun in his lap, you know, and it's, you know, so there was that connection with that whole underworld. I could remember we went to, my sister and Don took me maybe to this little restaurant over in Saginaw where everybody went after hours.
Mexican
place.
restaurant?
I don't know, but they were.
I think
Probably
I don't know.
Tony's.
El
I can remember,
Farolito?
you know, people were selling.
He remembers.
They were selling acid and
Yeah.
shit in the restaurant, and it was kind of, you know, there was that seedy little underworld thing. Well, anyways,
El Farolito was that kind of restaurant.
Well, there,
Well,
but
well-
also Tony's on Genesee.
well, we ended up, you know, playing this gig at the Golden Grove. It was
Bobby's
promoted by these mafiosos.
But Bobby's
type
band,
of
I think it was
characters.
his band at the time was In Flight. It was
In
called.
Flight.
Yeah.
And he did a 45. I think I have that 45.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were-
But those Don and those guys hung out together back in the day, so they knew
Yeah, there
each
was
other. You know?
quite the connection there.
Yeah.
You know. I mean, my gosh, that question mark was a flamboyant. Well, you know, he was a gay guy at a time when gay really wasn't out in the open, but he was flamboyant. You know?
Listen, I got to get this story out there because I told my girlfriend this, and I said I never told anybody else this story, but Don came over to the house, and he had question mark with him, and I can't remember.
And Frankie Rodriguez.
I was gonna say I can't remember if it was
Yeah.
Bobby or Frankie.
It was Frankie because he
Frankie-
went down and played my roads and broke
He-
times on my damn piano.
They come over to look at Bobby had a new Fender Rhodes
Yeah.
piano.
Yeah.
Well, my mom worked second shift. Well, she was getting ready. She would do her hair and stuff in the dining room. Well, she was primping up there. Well, question mark walks in. He says, "Can I borrow your brush?" So I have this etched in my mind. My mother and question mark doing their hair in the mirror in the dining room.
Oh yeah.
And that's a true story, but the only one who would know is me and question mark because he's still alive, I think. and
Oh, yeah.
My mother's gone, but so anyway,
I got a question mark story that's not quite as cool as that, but when they reunited in the late '90s there, and they were doing their little tour, and Chad Cunningham was getting them back out.
here and there, yeah, yeah.
I was at the studio getting the lowdown for the paper, the Times at the time, and it ran in Saginaw News-Basically Times, and they were having me keep up with the whole thing. And Q called about every day to my mom's number. Somehow he got my mom's phone number, my mom and dad.
This
and
is
she's
question
like,
mark?
yeah. And I know I had a cell phone then because I got my cell phone in 91, 92 when I
Yeah,
graduated.
Yeah, there was a time we didn't have cell phones.
Yeah.
It's hard to remember.
And I'm like, I know I lived in Midland at that time, but
Yeah.
she's like, Scotty, will you tell question mark to quit calling the damn
Yeah.
house? He calls here all the time. And I'm like, okay. And I don't remember how he got the number or why. Maybe it was from a prior story I did or something.
Well, my mom was so cute, you know, because she knew we opened for Seger and that she thought we hung out together. And she would say, well, how's Seger doing? You know, I mean, he's doing real good, Mom.
Yeah.
Really, pretty
Real
good.
real
Pretty good, yeah.
Well, getting back to that gig at the Golden Globe Ballroom.
Yeah.
So we got
That
got Bobby's
that was a
band
gig.
open up for us. You know, Don and I, we went shopping. You know, him and I used to go out there get in the world, and you know, it was a cool gig. You know, we had stage hands. We walked on. You know, the big deal. But people were partying wild. You know, throwing back shots and guzzling booze and who knows what kind of drugs they were taking. It was
a
you know, it was
crazy-
a
one of those
full house,
crazy nights.
loud, sweaty, and things went south. Things went south. Somebody started beating on his gal, slapped his gal, and this other guy picks up a folding chair and starts whacking on his head. Well, that guy That guy pulled out a bayonet, and this is right in the front row. Run them all the way through, front to back, all the way through. And about, and this was, there's like, 700-800 people in this place, and it just, and all of a sudden, pandemonium. The cops came in, and I mean all the departments.
We're talking about 15 state cops and
the sheriffs. I can remember the brown shirts.
I gotta tell you, I was so glad to see cops in my life to get out of there.
And the guy that got run through, they just had him sitting on a chair by the front door waiting for the ambulance to get there.
I think he died because I can't remember his name.
I think
the mafioso guys, they were nowhere in sight, but they paid us before they left. Before they left, so I have a soft spot in my heart for them guys because they took care of business.
Those guys are from Boston.
Well, the guys I'm talking about, the ones that they always make all the movies about. They were in there.
They were from Boston.
They were tapping into Saginaw. It's a market.
Blue town.
Were you at that show, Freddie?
I think I was.
We were talking.
That's what I thought I heard you say earlier.
Yeah,
that was one of the areas.
What year?
Because that happened in the other room, I think.
That had been 75.
I think it was the end of. It might have been a New Year's Eve.
You said it was Bobby's side band at the
flight,
time. Yeah, so it makes sense.
Bob. Okay. Yeah, they opened for us. We were helping them out, and he helped us out.
There's the cops. So the place is just war zone, and the cops they're taking pictures and all that. We still got our gear in there. We were traveling heavy. We had a road crew, but we're getting the hell out of there, and they were taking pictures, and I'd be taking the cabinet up in front of my face as I was walking out the door.
And I also remember Bob, he says, Joe, he says, don't look down. He said, there's blood all over the floor.
Oh, yeah. It was,
it
was that dark black arterial blood,
But you were funny, Bob, because the cops had cameras. Bob took a monitor and put it up in front of his face on the.
Well, right about that same time, I was still going to high school. Okay,
Bob was in high school.
Yeah, we did.
High school.
We did this. We did this gig in Pinconning, where I live right now. It was a hall up there. And I think there was several bands. First time I met Scott Causley up there, and it was really a good gig, Crasher Basher Sunday night gig, and one of my friends, he made out pretty good with a gal. I think he got laid. He got laid. Well, a couple days.
He got lucky.
He got lucky. Well, a couple days later, we used to take our lunch over at Handy High School out in the parking lot. We sit in the car. It's Michigan. It's cold. And at one point, two guys come around on each side of the car and cornered this guy and stabbed him. And I'm sitting in the car too. It was his gal that he had made out with at that gig just a few nights before.
Bobby, isn't that
so?
This happened in that Handy High School parking lot?
Yeah. So when you look at this, song on the album, Cold Steel.
That's what
I wrote that about these two events. So it's kind of an anti-violence song, really, or just about it.
Well,
it's part of the American life.
It makes me think of Bob rap music. These guys singing about their environment. That was your environment, and it wasn't as peachy keen as people might have thought it was.
There's one line in the song, staring down at Cold Steel. Makes you feel that life's real.
Well, I got you now. Okay.
That's where that song came.
It was a thing.
I'm glad you're talking about that because I know about the song, but I don't think other people do.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Well, that's kind of sobering, isn't it?
Yeah, you guys played some interesting gigs, and I know when I first interviewed you, you were talking about the gig at Vets Park for the Music Performers Trust.
I got a story.
And that was back. Yeah, that was back when the parks were big hangouts. Carroll Park, Vets Park. For a lot of young people. So what's the story?
It tied into the musicians union, didn't it, Joe?
I got a story to tell about this. I've been wanting to get out for years.
All right, go for it.
And it's pretty cool because we were trying to get to play in a park for a free concert. Well, they shut us down. So our union secretary called us. His name was Clarence Fanger. He was, from the horn band days, but he was a cool guy. He knew we were the next generation, and he says, "I think that you can get a gig in the park and you will get paid too." But it was called the Music Performance Trust Fund. All the big labels, I think the union made them do it. Put a pot of money in, a little bit of money.
It was because of long playing records. They made a deal. They didn't like long playing records. That was gonna take away from live performance. So they made them put this trust fund in there so we would still make some money.
But the thing was, you couldn't charge admission. It had to be free. But the band got paid. You got paid union scale, and but it was a big gig for us. So Bob and Don, I can remember, they went out and papered it. I'm talking handbills. Yeah. That's what we did back then. There was no Facebook and stuff, and but the worst part is polka bands. It was a regular night. Again, it was like a Tuesday or Wednesday in the middle of the week. Well, 10 people would show up. Well, we had hundreds of people show up. But the worst part is the cops said, "You're not playing tonight." They come in, they were going to shut us down. They threatened to arrest us on the spot. One of us, I don't know who, said, "That's discrimination. You can't let a polka band play down here, and you're not going to let us play down here." And so the guy's talking on his, probably to the chief. The chief's probably the one who shut it down. I don't know that for a fact, but it stunk. Y'all know how they treated Madonna here. Well, we were born and bred here, and we didn't do anything wrong. We weren't doing anything illegal. It was all sanctioned by the city that they were fine with it.
It was the audience. There's all these people out there, and they're all cuddled together, and there's a big cloud of marijuana smoke in the air, and
I don't remember that.
there's really there's nothing they could do, and everybody would clump together.
But what they did do, we also, one of us also said, you're going to have a riot on your hands here if you just shut us down. We were grasping at straws so we could play.
Right.
So they gave us 15 minutes, and they said, if you go over 15 minutes, we will arrest you. And again, like the gig over at the what was that place called in Saginaw you were just talking about?
Hidden Hollow?
Golden Glow.
Golden Glow.
I forgot where I was going with it, but so that's been a saddle for
to me,
decades.
that gig seemed longer than 15 minutes. It was a big.
Well,
it was kind of a.
As I remember, brother,
thing.
you were pushing the time out, and I did not want to get arrested.
Would have been good press.
Looking back on it, brother, looking back on it, we should have played it different.
Oh, man.
I was always worried about our gear getting confiscated. That was everything we owned.
Yeah.
But
we had that.
Did you guys have day jobs during all this?
I didn't. You know what?
We quit our jobs.
These guys.
Did you quit GM at that time?
Yes, he did.
Yeah, he did.
You quit GM to play in the band full time?
Yeah.
Yeah, we were
committed.
making a living. We had about 10 years.
We
10
weren't
years.
playing.
We were making a living.
We were not weekend warriors anymore. We had to make it or break.
It was.
You quit GM before Larry McCray quit GM to have a full-time gig. I mean, that's the first one. That's a big job,
Well,
man.
you know what? It's harder to do one of them GM jobs than what you think. That you have to give your whole life to that, and they make all that money in that, but it's 7 10s.
It's curious. That
What's
you
there
mentioned Larry
there when
McCray.
your life is over? You made a bunch of cars, which is important, but
Yeah.
Because Larry McCray.
Well,
is
it
one
becomes
of the few
your life.
people I know that walked
Basically,
out
a lot
there
of people had a hard time
I'm doing
retiring.
this full time.
Just
Yeah.
because that
One of the
was
few.
what they did
Oh, yeah.
all the time.
well. Anyways, we recorded a record, and
Well, let's go back. How did you select Glen Arbor as a studio where you wanted to do the album?
God, I just
Probably me. I was like the researcher. I would be looking at, they got a so-and-so console. I was impressed by what we wanted to be good. Like it turned out it was our last shot, first and last shot that got out there. And I thought, they got Newman mics. I go,
You look at gear.
This is a
Yeah,
Just
whoever
a good
ran that studio sounded like he was,
Fred
you
Ball.
know, really doing it
We
right.
think he was from the Ball Canning family. That's how he had
That's
it.
right.
They took a grist mill. It was like 3 stories. They refurbished. The board was on the 3rd floor. Their echo chamber was a real concrete basement, nothing in it. They just put a mic in, feed the material through and pick it up, and the echo from there. It was not mechanical.
They bounced it, yeah.
And
I love it.
Not electronic, I should say. So, but so then it came up. You know, we could go to Detroit, go to GM recording studios. Kind of, let's go up north.
Yeah,
we won't have all the stress of the big city and stuff.
Definitely a northern Michigan band.
I mean, Don was in a canoe out there fly fishing while we were doing vocal overdubs in this little street. It
was the Crystal River up in that homestead thing up in there. It's a beautiful development now, but back then it was
condo,
just started.
For a couple, we were there for a better part of a week, I think, 3-4 days.
Interesting.
Is that studio still there?
No,
because
how about the grist mill? Is it?
It's still
the
there,
building is still
there.
there.
My wife had a conference up there years later, and she was in the conference, and I tagged along. Well, I went out there, and there was literally a tumbleweed blowing across the porch. I went and walked. But it was abandoned, as far as I could tell.
So the guy put together, he was probably from a trust fund.
Well, we figured
he had all that money.
He had money. It was.
I don't know, Gary, but
big time gear. Yeah.
We're talking. It was all restored. I mean,
Neumann's alone for anybody back then on a small scale. That's expensive.
It was beautiful what he did.
Yeah, it was a great experience.
I don't know if we went for that, but we got it. It was mostly about the gear, and we wanted it to be good.
It was as recording sessions go. It was pretty short.
Well, you guys,
we had practiced real hard to get it done
right.
quick, and we went in, and so it's you listen to it. It's like the album cover. It's black and white. It's stark.
Yeah, it still sounds good though, and.
You always wish it was better.
Chip Schrader, the engineer.
I was going to ask you. You kind of produced it yourselves, then,
pretty
right?
much. I didn't want to, but we didn't have a choice. We were kind of really needed to get this album
that engineer
out.
helped us out. We didn't know our way around the studio. We had done a lot of recording. We had the reel-to-reels. We had done a ton of them, so we knew the process. But that was a whole different thing. And so we.
And you had your songs before you came in.
They were locked down tight.
Right,
so we went. It wasn't no figure. The arrangements were locked in tight. So.
And the artwork.
Well, that's
a friend of yours, right? Did that?
Yeah, Joe's high school friend and my friend too, Chuck Clark.
He was one of my closest buddies.
Yeah, Charles Clark.
He was in art school.
One of us, what do you want on the front of the album?
Mm-hmm.
And you said,
"Did you say naked women or
tits
something?"
and ass, man.
I don't remember that. I don't remember that. The way you're probably right, Don. I don't remember, but I kind of said, when you do a cover, I didn't say do this, do that. All we need is the name on it. That's all.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a really remarkable piece of artwork, and
anything you want.
And it was actually pretty big. When you looked at it big, it really kind of hit you.
And obviously,
what
we're trying to be subtle.
I want black and white. That's black and white.
It is. It's a killer.
Got the TNA, yeah.
A lot of TNA on that bad boy. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it really stands out, and that's always an important.
It reminds me of
aspect of an album.
A lava lamp.
Joey, what'd you say?
Well, back then, vinyl albums, you're starting to see them again now. It was like a damn.
What did you want?
Artist palette.
Well, that's we've talked about this on the show before. The real sad part about the decline of vinyl was the album cover art, which was such a big deal on a vinyl album. So it's nice that vinyl albums are coming back a little bit, but not like it was.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Don. Go ahead.
What'd you want on the album cover? Bobby wanted TNA. I says, God, I don't care, make it black and white. And what did you say?
Yeah, I have that album. I found it at the Electric Kitsch maybe 5-10 years ago. Autographed by all you guys.
That's worth even more money.
The copy of the album that Jordan was selling for $50. I says, I know these guys. He says, take it, it's yours.
Wow.
So he gave it to me.
Well, that's pretty cool.
Wow.
Chuck Clark did the artwork on it.
Yep.
Yep.
I just wanted to make a thing here in our. We were so naive about a lot of things. Some record people told us, where you screwed up, you should have had this name up at the top. And the reason is when people file through the bins.
Oh, yeah.
Ours was
right.
way at the bottom, so when they come across it, if you were going quick, you wouldn't see the.
True.
So this is a subtlety that it should have been at the top, but we didn't know that.
So we had this artwork, we had these recordings, and the recordings they were done on a half track tape, and
They're
Don
mixed.
and I went down to Motown Studios and took that half track tape, and they knocked her down to a 1/4 inch, something that we could get duped. They helped us with some duplication down there, and him and I are, we're coming out of that. I recall it was like a blue house. We come out of that blue house, and over across the field, over the way, not too far, was the Detroit Police Academy, and I can remember the sergeant or whoever was drilling these cadets saying, "There's a couple of them right now." And
The enemy.
So when I see that Motown Museum and all that, it kind of warms my heart that Don and I went. We were sort of the point guys on going out and getting these technical decals done after the recording. So
You guys did a lot of the talking. I wasn't a big talker. You'd find that hard to believe today, but I was kind of quiet.
Well, Don was the epitome of a rock and roller in the day. Well, maybe 3-4 inches taller, and always had these leather pants, and I don't know if it wasn't always the beard, but long blonde hair. He's got it shorn pretty good now. But
he was a lady killer.
Yeah, he was a lady killer. Handsome devil, still is. And
My beard was down to my belly button.
Yeah.
And so is my hair.
The MMHP is hosted on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, and our own Libsyn podcast site. You can also search MMHP 989 on Facebook for up-to-the-minute information, as well as both Dr. J and Sir Fred's album picks of the week, posted every weekend. Don't forget to look for Mr. Mike's local music live series, posted frequently on MMHP's Facebook hub, as well as Scott's Mid-Mitten 15 from Harvest Canteen, featuring one-on-one interviews with Michigan music artists. You can connect with Scott on the web at scottbakermusic.com, Dr. J at michiganrockandrolllegends.com, Sir Fred at fredrife.com, Mr. Mike at YouTube at Mr. BT1. That's MRBTEE and the number 1. Brought to you by Michigan Rock and Roll Legends, located both inside the Bay County Historical Museum on Washington Avenue, as well as Scotty's Sandbar on Evergreen Drive at the Bay City Middle Grounds.
On behalf of our hosts, Dr. J, Sir Fred, Mr. Mike, and myself, this podcast wouldn't have been here without the voice of the MMHP, Mr. Eddie Switek, the generosity of the Bay County Historical Museum, which hosts the Rock and Roll Legends Hall of Fame, as well as this podcast, Mr. Ellen